One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt, Mr. Beistel, Mr. Calero, Mrs. Love, Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Polakowski,
Here.
Mrs. Rhodes, Mrs. Shipley, Mr. Benz.
Here. Let the record show that Mr. Calero notified me last week that he couldn't make this meeting. Mrs. Love notified me she couldn't make the meeting, she'd be out of town. And Mr. Beistel called late this afternoon to say that he had a family medical emergency and could not make it this evening. And did you all say that Mr. Alt notified the office?
He had a work obligation.
Okay, so Mr. Alt also. So 5 present. Citizens' comments, please.
We have no comment cards this evening.
Minutes.
You'll be asked next week to approve the March 5th and March 12th meeting minutes.
Any questions on those or comments? Seeing none, finance.
You'll also be asked to approve the financial reports. Those are not available because of the early date of the meeting this week, but as soon as those are available, we'll send them your way, and you'll be asked to consider and approve those as well.
Just a question. Seems like, I'm not sure if it's because of the new computer system or whatever, it seems like that they're not usually here until the second meeting. Would it be possible, not for this year, but maybe for next year, to maybe talk about moving our meetings from like the second and third, just to make it easier for you guys to get that stuff out? Or, just to see what the board thinks, or just want to keep it the first and second meetings and not really worried about having those till the second week? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know what that does to your payroll.
Payroll?
When's payroll? Second?
Doesn't do anything to the payroll.
Second? When do you approve it?
I believe payroll is an ongoing function. Jim, you don't do payroll in the financials for approval, do you?
When you get the bill listing or the check listing, it lists all the payments that go out, check or wire, and it lists on there the total dollar amounts for the payrolls that would fall within the monthly period.
And you're just ready to be a decision in this November, December. Yeah,
Right.
Just kind of roll it around.
Okay, so just think about it, just a question. Discussion, Dr. Scott, District Performance Review.
We're going to table Dr. Scott's discussion until next week. He has a presentation that's actually for the entire board to hear, and since we have a sparse crowd this evening, we'll table that until next week.
Seeing the old business, new business, tentative graduating class.
We'll be asked to approve the tentative list of graduates for 2015. They'll be approved pending completion of all required coursework and meeting all of their obligations.
Questions? 2015-16 school calendar.
The new teacher's contract adds, instead of the 6 one-hour meetings that we previously had under the last several contracts, this contract eliminated those and instead added one teacher workday into the school calendar, and we have that scheduled for Tuesday, August 25th. So we'll ask that you approve the revision of the calendar, adding August 25th as a teacher workday.
Any questions on that? Seeing none, 2015-16 OT-PT contract renewal.
Right. You might remember last year our OT and PT services that we were receiving through the IU were discontinued, and we did some shopping around and were able to keep the 2 therapists that we had previously had who knew our kids, knew our programs. They both went to work for a company called Camco, and we had a 1-year contract with Camco. We would ask that you renew that contract with them. I think I sent that information home with you in terms of all the details.
Questions?
Good working relationship.
Oh, absolutely, yes. It's been a good relationship.
Permission to advertise for supplies.
Right, it's the time of year when we advertise for bidding for our athletic and maintenance supplies. So we'll seek permission to go ahead and do those advertisements.
Questions on that? Seeing none, policy 307.
Policy 307 was posted a couple of months ago, and we now have some updated language. Most of it is on page 2. And you'll see it has to do with arrest and conviction reporting requirements. Prior to being accepted into district schools, they have to list any arrests or convictions that they may have had in addition to their their 3 clearances that they have to have. And in the event that one of them would get into difficulty, they have to report on a designated form within 72 hours any arrest or conviction. That has to be reported to myself or my designee. The last item there, student teacher or intern shall be required to submit a current criminal history background check report if the superintendent or designee has a reasonable belief that the student teacher or intern was arrested or has been convicted, and that they have not notified us. So all of this is in addition to the clearances that we require before they walk through the door.
Mr. Miller, you have a question?
How many do we have on a typical year?
It depends on the year, but generally, Tim, what, about half a dozen years?
Sure. Yeah, at least. Usually maybe 6 to 8, yeah.
Have them always, all the time.
Right. We work with a number of colleges. A lot of them are out of California. We've had some from IUP. We get Seton Hill students. We get St. Vincent students. We had a student from Notre Dame of Ohio recently.
No, good.
They always they learn from us and we learn from them. It's a nice relationship. Then the next item I have, which is not on your list, but at your desk in front of you, is the WIU general operating budget for next year. And it's requested that we vote on that next week as well. And what that would entail for us is that we would be paying, I believe it's just a little bit more than $2,000 more than we have been per year for the operating budget. Sometimes this is confusing for folks. This is not the special ed budget. It has nothing to do with any special education services. It doesn't have anything to do with Clairview School. This is merely keeping the IU office running, their secretarial pool, their executive director, those kinds of things, and then the services and trainings that they offer to us that are curriculum related, safety related, hosting meetings, those kinds of things. So that's we'll ask that you approve that as well.
Any questions on that? Seeing none, anything else for public?
That is all I have for public consumption this evening.
Citizens' comments? Seeing none, need a motion to adjourn to executive session for personnel. Motion by Mr. Miller, second. Second by Mrs. Shipley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.